Esteemed colleagues, the ATO spokesperson, Colonel Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. The information on the situation in the ATO area during the last 24 hours. The last day of the winter saw a huge escalation at the front. The number of shellings was 117, which is almost twice more than average daily shellings from the beginning of the year. The militants were using the whole spectrum of weapons, shelling at Ukrainian positions, excluding missiles. During the day, the occupants launched more than 110 artillery shells at our position, 60 tank shells, and more than 400 mortar mines of different caliber in Lugansk direction. The main activities of the enemy were at the sections of the front near Popasna and near Bakhmutska highway. In Popasna, the militants became active in the evening, shelling from mortars at the forces of the ATO. At the same time, in Krymsky to the north from Bakhmutsky highway, the militants were massively shelling for more than 1 hour. At the same time, the enemy was shelling from mortars at the Ukrainian fortifications close to Krymsky, Novotashkivsky, and Derichova. It was hot in Popasnyansky district around 9 p.m. Since then till midnight, the occupants were shelling at Ukrainian positions from mortars, weapons from armored equipment, and were sporadically shelling from the howitzers of 152 millimeter. The occupants were violating also the ceasefire in Stanitsa Luganska. One of such episodes lasted for more than 2.5 hours. The enemy was not using heavy weaponry also in Zhovte, which is on the right bank of Siversky Donetsk. After the sunset, the enemy sniper was shelling in the direction of our positions. In total, during the last 24 hours in Lugansk direction, there were 26 enemy shellings, more half of them from heavy weaponry. Two-thirds of all the incidents took place in the dark time of the day, Donetsk direction. And the biggest part of all shellings, as before, is occurring in Avdiivka and its outskirts. The enemy is getting active in this area after lunch and gradually reduces the intensity of shelling closer to midnight. Yesterday, the enemies there were using the weapons from small arms to large caliber guns and tanks. At Svetlodarsky Arch, the enemy was shelling in the direction of ATO forces during all 24 hours, with the mortars and the armament on the armed vehicles was used in the dark time of the day. There were several violations in Zaitsevo, Novgorodsky, Verkhnotoretsky, and near Donetsk airport. Everywhere the militants were mostly using small arms, but they were also using heavy weaponry. The enemy had short sporadic mortar shellings, and in Novgorodsky and Verkhnotoretsky was shelling at position of Ukrainian defenders from tanks. In total, during the last 24 hours in Donetsk direction, there were 44 enemy shellings, half of them using mortars, artillery, and tanks. Mariupolsky direction. In Mariinsky district and near Dokuchaevsk, yesterday it was quiet. From time to time, the enemy was firing from small arms, but at the same time, in the southern section of the direction from Pavlopol to Shirokino, the situation is very tense. The enemy continues to actively shell at Ukrainian positions from heavy weaponry. The most massive shellings took place early in the morning when in Vodyane the bands launched at the positions of ATO forces 40 artillery shells, and in Gnutovo 50 mortar mines. In Gnutovo, in the result of the direct hitting by the mine launched by the enemy, the private house was damaged. After the morning military activity of the enemy, the enemy was shelling at our positions in eastern outskirts of Mariupol. At the same time, the enemy was using mortars till late night. Yesterday, in Mariupolsky direction, the enemy was violating ceasefire for 47 times. With that, 15 times they were using heavy weaponry. During the last 24 hours, and the result of military actions, two Ukrainian servicemen were killed, 4 were wounded. We express our sympathy with the friends and the family of the perished enemies, of the perished servicemen. In Shastia, Lugansk Oblast, the Security Service of Ukraine disclosed and eliminated the information network of LNR band.
The law enforcers arrested a local resident who during 2015-2017 collected and passed the information about relocation and deployment of Ukrainian troops to those persons who informed the enemies. The law enforcers identified other participants of this team and will bring them to responsibilities. Also, the SBU had involved one more figure to the You Are Waited at Home program. He was involved into collecting information by a person about whom he later was informed that he belonged to the militants. So he surrendered to the security service and encouraged the militants to put on arms. The servicemen from the National Guards of Ukraine had military exercise in emergency situations at the NPPs. The National Guards officers conventionally liquidated fire in result of weather conditions at the South Ukrainian NPP. This task was carried out successfully. At Novotroinsky checkpoint, 4 new passing models for passport controlled were opened now. There are 2 passing points to enter the checkpoint and Ukrainian territory and to exit from it. Representatives of the Lithuanian Association of Volunteers and Reserve Soldiers handed their assistance to the Ukrainian servicemen in ATO area. They provided electric generators and warm clothes. They plan to continue this delivery of aid. Novotroitsk checkpoint was crossed by 12 trucks from the International Red Cross Committee, which transported foodstuff and medicines and also construction materials up to 233 tons weight. These days, the President of Ukraine had signed a decree about awards to the servicemen of Ukrainian armed forces and National Guards distinguished in Donbass. 61 servicemen were awarded, and out of them, 17 were awarded post-mortem. I would like to mention 2 names. The commander of reconnaissance company, Junior Lieutenant Sergei Galash, who was awarded by the Order of Bogdan Khmelnytsky. On October 8th, his reconnaissance group eliminated 2 militants, and one of the militants was imprisoned with arms and documents. Another hero, Roman Malishevsky, senior soldier, was awarded for courage order, and in August 27 2016, he eliminated the reconnaissance group of the militants. And now questions. Lisa Halavata, Fifth TV channel. Could you please explain potential reasons for the escalation in the East? Frankly speaking, we do not know the plans of the enemies, but our intelligence suggests that during the last days, officers from the main intelligence department of Russian Federation had arrived to the militants. Also, quite recently, the 61st so-called humanitarian convoy entered the territory of Ukraine. Maybe it brought new weaponry, and the LPR and DPR governments had announced response to the blockade of entry to Donbas territory. Maybe this is the reasons.